was out on a patrol on Easter in the front of my squad. I remember I looked forward, right there, I just saw it was a directional IED. I see the string coming out the back of it. And they blew it up, they set it off. One of my guys, I remember him yelling back at everybody else saying, like, Hernandez is hit, he's bleeding out. I was scared, like I didn't know really what to think. It was I mean, the last thing I expected to happen that day was me end up being on a helicopter flying out from downrange.
When wounded warriors are brought home to the States, it's a journey of over 7,000 miles, made possible by a dedicated team of pilots, doctors, flight nurses and crew, medics, chaplains. The list is long and the care is unique for those who make sure our injured soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines make it back safely. It truly is a mission of mercy.
I'm going to be on this aircraft for the next 2 weeks, so I'm going to thoroughly check everything so I don't have to check it again. And also, this aircraft's coming off of being at a far site for 2 weeks, so the medic that was on before me may not have been able to resupply stuff he was using. So I'm going to double check everything extra thoroughly. Our goal is to be off the ground here in 15 minutes, have the patient. We generally don't fly more than 15 to 30 minutes from this site, and then have them back at the FST within an hour getting surgical care. So if you get hurt in Afghanistan, you're pretty much guaranteed to get to a surgeon within an hour if we have anything to do with it.
As a pilot, as a PI, like we call it, I'll come out to the aircraft and get, myself and the crew chief will come out and we'll go ahead and get the aircraft run up all the way until engines start.
There it goes.
The sense of urgency, I mean, it depends on what we've got coming down. You're always going to have the question of how severe are the patients. If it's a point of injury, like we have a lot here, you're always going to consider the landing zone, security of the landing zone, and the landing zone itself. Is it going to be dust landing? If it's a dust landing, how severe is the dust? What kind of sloping terrain may we be landing on? What other mitigations do we have to think about? Such as if it's an IED blast, are there other IEDs out there? Are there mines if we're landing off the side of a road? There's all kinds of things that you have to run through your mind before you get out there. IED blasts predominantly here, so we do a lot of point of injuries, roadside. It's got a lot of different names to it, and local nationals stepping on landmines, local nationals having falls and things like that. You've seen how dark it gets here. Just imagine what it's like at, you know, the village with no street lights and all that kind of stuff.
It's a little harder. The conditions are a little rougher, especially at night. We're not able to use white light, and it's a little bit bumpier than the back of an ambulance, but we manage.
Everyone that I work with is top-notch. We have medics that I see them do things that's like, how do you do that in the back of a helicopter? We could be in, you know, a 60-degree bank and they're putting tubes down someone's throat or putting a needle into someone's chest, and, you know, we're flying extremely fast, you know, going through G-forces, and for them to be able to do that, it blows my mind.
You would burn out really quickly if every patient you treated in here you took home with you at the end of the day, because, I mean, there's days you pick up 7 patients and you find out 2 hours later that 3 of them died. And if you took that home with you every day, you'd never make it through the deployment.
The chance to save another person's life and make sure that they get home, see their family again, that's extremely rewarding. This is the best mission in the Army as far as I'm concerned.
We're going to put a warm blanket on it, okay? Get a blanket. Pull this out from under. You go ahead and pull this blanket out.
These guys are well trained and they do a great job. The medevac crew brings them in. We have a separate crew that unloads them from the helicopter. They bring them into the station area where they're initially screened, looked at, and they're brought into our ATLS area. That's where we do the major evaluation on them. and then from there we can either take them to the operating room if we need to, or we take them a little further to what we call the ICU area, where we just watch him and observe him. I think that's where he's going to end up going.
IV, left forearm patent. Okay, press out with my lateral equal. Pulses.
One of our Afghan military, they were involved in a rollover with their vehicle, and initially were several injuries. Two of them weren't bad enough to be brought here, but one of them was brought here, and he initially was reported to have a serious arm injury, head injury.
BP is 116/56.
We have 3 general surgeons, and I'm an orthopedic surgeon. We have a lot of medical capacity, more than what aid stations would have. So you're bringing these 4 doctors together who are used to working individually. Now we got to come together and work as a team.
You feel me touching you? Yeah, I feel. Where am I touching you? The duff. That column. Okay.
As soon as a patient comes in, we have 5 or 6 people around that patient right away. They all got specific jobs. One guy's drawing blood, another person's doing IVs, another person's doing vitals, another one's clearing things, and then you got 2 or 3 doctors working on them, so you have to learn to work as a team.
You let us do all the lifting for you, okay?
The FST is a forward surgical unit. Back when they first established these, say back in World War II, when you had a front line, the forward surgical team was right in back of the front line. They're actually on the edge of the battlefield. And as we're set up here in tents, it was meant to be a unit that can pick up and move. So as the battlefield would hopefully move forward, the unit, the FST, could pick up, move forward, stay with them, and be the first responders.
Lateral of the forearm.
Now here in this country, the same as when I was in Iraq, there isn't a front line per se, so we're a little bit more definitive, a little bit more stationary, but we're the first responders.
I thought maybe there'd be a hairline fracture. We're looking at his x-rays now of his forearm, and I don't see any obvious fracture. We had separate x-rays coming of his hand, but it looks like, fortunately for him, he just has some cuts, bruises on his arm. We're going to clean those up, and we'll splint them, and we'll see how he does.
Scrapes here.
The other thing we're going to need to do to watch with him with an injury is sometimes the arm can swell so much they can develop what we call a compartment syndrome. And what that is a swelling is so intense it actually cuts off the circulation to the hand. So sometimes we actually have to take him to surgery, make large incisions on the arm just to release the pressure. So after a trauma, that can develop anywhere from a couple hours to 10, 12, 14 hours after the injury. So we're going to watch him this time period to make sure he doesn't develop that.
You want antibiotics?
We cleared that his head was just a minor bump, so it was just cuts and contusions. So he was very fortunate.
Oh, we got it here.
They're going to give a report to the flight nurse on all of the patients that came out of the CASF or the ward in the hospital that are going on the flight, because those patients will be her crew's responsibility.
Watch out for that tube hanging.
He's a D, and it's a C-17, so he should be able to walk on.
I'm part of a critical care air transport team, also known as CCAT, and pretty much we take care of anyone that's critically ill or injured, transport them attached to an air medical evacuation crew, and fly those patients from the AOR to Germany.
Get ready to chat here, make sure your seatbelts are fastened.
I'd like to think of the military as a brotherhood. The folks outside the wire are taking care of us, and our job is to take care of them when they get injured. So it's almost like you're taking care of a family member.